Everyone. Next up, we have GeoVax Labs, Inc. It trades on the NASDAQ under the symbol GOVX and is a clinical stage biotechnology company developing novel therapies and vaccines for solid tumor cancers and many of the world's most threatening infectious diseases. Please welcome Chairman, President, and CEO, David Dodd. Hi, David.
Hi, thank you, Anna, and thank you, everyone, for your potential interest in GeoVax. It's a pleasure to be here. Please take note of our forward-looking statement. The GeoVax presents a compelling opportunity. We're addressing critically unmet medical needs with differentiated products. We have near-term stock catalysts. We have proven leadership that have led the transformation of companies into the multi-billion-dollar increased growth and value over their term of their relationships with them. I'm going to focus on our key programs which relate to our next-gen COVID vaccine, our advanced head and neck cancer therapy. Both of these two products are in phase 2 clinical trials, and also our initiative to become the first U.S.-sourced supplier of a vaccine for monkeypox and smallpox. The key milestones and catalysts we have, GEO-CM04S1 is our next generation COVID-19 vaccine. I'll explain why it is such a next generation product and how it differentiates in a moment, but it's in phase 2 clinical development right now and in 3 phase 2 clinical programs. There's a multi-site expansion underway among immunocompromised patients. These are blood cancer patients who are undergoing stem cell transplantation. That trial is underway, and this month is expanding to multiple sites, not only in the U.S., but throughout the world. We also have the enrollment completion as a catalyst that we're focused on completing yet this year, and that is among other immunocompromised patients, specifically those with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, another very critically important blood cancer. These last 2 immunocompromised patients with blood cancers are recognized as the highest at-risk group for COVID-19, severe morbidity and potential death. We also are completing, and probably will complete yet this month, a phase 2 program that is among healthy individuals. This is one where our vaccine is actually being evaluated as a booster after healthy individuals have received as their initial vaccine the mRNA vaccines. The other catalyst we have is referred to as GEO-MVA. MVA is the name of the vaccine that we are carrying forward to be the first domestic-based supplier of a vaccine against monkeypox and smallpox, and we'll talk about that. This year, we expect to clarify the expedited regulatory registration pathway and be informing the public and the investment community about the plans behind that. We also have underway, which we have announced and which I'll talk about in this presentation, is a transformative advanced manufacturing system for the technology that is the basis of all of our infectious disease vaccines. This is moving to a continuous cell line manufacturing system, and I'll talk about that. We expect to complete the validation of this system, this new process, both in support of our next-gen COVID-19 vaccine as well as our GEO-MVA. Finally, and certainly critically important, is our phase 2 clinical program, which is a multi-site program for Gedeptin. That is a therapy that is developed for advanced head and neck cancers as the initial indication. We expect to complete the initial study of 10 patients, which is the initial part of the phase 2 program. You'll note, or I'll note, that this program is also currently the portion that's underway is being funded by the FDA under the Orphan Drugs Clinical Trials Program. Turning to Gedeptin, which is our therapy with the initial indication focused on advanced head and neck cancers. This is what is referred to as a platform product. It has very broad application, but the initial indication, there are 15,000 individuals in the United States who die every year, unfortunately, from advanced head and neck cancers. What is unfortunate is everything has failed for these individuals. What we're hoping to do is be able to improve their quality of life. These are patients under palliative care. We're not trying to extend the survival, but really focused on reducing tumors, shrinking tumors, and enabling them to have a better quality of life, perhaps in their ability to speak and to eat, etc. But it's a real challenge for these individuals. The mechanism of action is very straightforward. It's the injection of a particular enzyme known as the PMP enzyme into a targeted tumor. That is then followed with an infusion of an approved product for hematologic cancers, which is called fludarabine phosphate. Fludarabine phosphate, or Fludara as a brand name is known. It does nothing for solid tumors, but in conjunction with the PMP enzyme or with gadeptin, it converts to another compound called fluoroadenine, which has unprecedented level of cell-killing activity. It destroys, significantly reduces the tumor, and has been shown to be very safe. GEO-CM04S1 is our next generation COVID-19 vaccine. We're very excited about this product. It's in, as I mentioned, 3 phase 2 clinical trials. It's essentially variant agnostic. We have been able to demonstrate that there's protective immunity from the original ancestral strain all the way through Omicron and Delta. We are targeting specifically providing critically needed protection to those individuals with compromised immune systems. And the reason why is people who have compromised immune systems are inadequately protected by the currently authorized vaccines and or the monoclonal antibody therapies. They continue to be sequestered. They are at the highest at-risk group of severe disease, hospitalization, and death. What we're hoping to demonstrate is broader, more durable protection than the existing authorized vaccines, and we're uniquely inducing not only the antibody side of the immune system, which is what the current vaccines target to do, but also the cellular immune system through T cells. The platform we use is recognized for safety. It's been approved in the marketplace for 40 years. It's potent, it's durable, it requires only minimal refrigeration, has been shown to be able to be freeze-dried. So it literally provides the opportunity to develop vaccines that not only are recognized for their safety, their potency, and their durability, but can be distributed anywhere in the world because they do not need significant refrigeration or frozen state, which the current vaccines require. What is key about our point of differentiation is that we encode 2 components of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. All the other technologies and platforms focus on the primary protein being the spike protein, which is important and is necessary to induce an antibody response. But as you can see in this particular slide, that antibodies play a very important role in the initial part of an infection, but it's the T cells that are required to be there and be enhanced and stimulated and induced to address severe disease, hospitalization, and death. Without T cells, you continue to have a very high risk population, especially among immunocompromised patients, but other individuals also, because you have to combine both elements of the immune system to give the breadth of protection that is really needed against SARS-CoV-2. We're targeting specifically immunocompromised patients. There are approximately 15 million individuals in the United States who either are dealing with cancers, renal disease, HIV, sickle cell anemia. They may have autoimmune disease such as lupus or multiple sclerosis. They may be transplant patients who are on immunosuppressive therapy. They may be diabetic. There are a host of individuals for whom the current vaccines are inadequate, and that is because they are needed to have strong induction of their T cells and their cellular immunity, because their antibody response has been depleted because of their medical conditions. This is not necessarily a reflection on the inability of the vaccines, other than the fact that they only address or primarily address the antibody side of the immune system, when for these patient populations, their body will not respond to such a stimulation, they need to have their T cells or their cellular immunity stimulated very strongly. That's what our vaccine is all about. As I mentioned, we're in 3 phase 2 clinical trials. There's an immunocompromised among stem cell transplant patients. These are patients who are recognized as the highest at-risk group for severe infection, hospitalization, and death. We're conducting a primary trial, meaning our vaccine is the primary vaccine in a direct comparison against mRNA vaccines. This will be approximately 260 patients. It's currently in enrollment. It's now being expanded to multi-sites throughout the U.S. as well as outside of the U.S., and we'll be comparing among the 260, half of whom will receive our vaccine and the other half will receive an mRNA vaccine. Also, as an immunocompromised target population are patients with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, a very high-risk group who, as a result of both their condition as well as their treatment, their body is depleted from being able to mount an appropriate response to antibody stimulation. In this case, we're evaluating our vaccine as the booster vaccine in a direct comparison to the mRNA vaccine as a booster. And finally, among healthy volunteers, those who had received as their initial vaccine an mRNA vaccine, this trial is very close to completion in its enrollment, and then we'll be talking about the results yet this year. And in here, it is a 60-patient trial, and we will be discussing those results. In the CLL, it's an 80-person trial, of which 40 will receive our vaccine as the booster and 40 will receive the mRNA vaccine. Also, the CLL trial is being funded by a private family foundation, so it's a non-dilutive impact on our balance sheet, which we also are very happy to have. In April, the White House announced Project NextGen. That's a $5 billion program that is the follow-on to what was known as Operation Warp Speed. It is intended to advance either products that are already in the clinic or that are about to go into the clinic and to demonstrate that there are new generations or next generation technologies that can provide more robust, more durable protection, immune protection than what is currently out there. GeoVax has been in discussions with members of the White House and with the federal government and HHS, and we have a proposal currently submitted, and we're right in the middle of this particular program. What has happened was on the 10th of April, the White House made the announcement. GeoVax submitted their initial information request back to them on the 20th of April. That led to a very comprehensive discussion with members of the federal government from BARDA. It's known as a BARDA Tech Watch meeting, and the Project NextGen group requested a formal presentation, which we then submitted on August the 4th, a proposal to the group. And then it was just a few weeks ago that the initial announcements out of the $5 billion funding, the initial $1.4 billion were announced as initial awards, with the government indicating that additional awards will be announced before the end of the fiscal year, which ends September the 30th of this, which is this month. And they expect to then include in those awards also additional vaccines. Where right now no vaccines have been announced, but we were pleased that our clinical research partner was included in the initial award, so we're highly encouraged with the current situation there. We'll also be focusing on GEO-MVA this year, which is on being achieving the situation of being the first U.S. source vaccine against mpox or monkeypox and smallpox. Last November, GeoVax secured the rights from NIH for their vaccine basis to use in this regard. In February of this year, we announced successful validation of a continuous cell line manufacturing process in support of this and our other MVA-based vaccines. And in May, at the end of May of this year, we announced a strategic relationship with ABL, a recognized contract manufacturer that has been funded throughout the years by federal government funding in support of MVA-based manufacturing and other similar initiatives. And this all flows into what we announced in February, which is the basis of being able to transform into an advanced, high-yield, high-capacity manufacturing system so that we can accommodate the needs worldwide and be able to respond to both epidemics and pandemics as they might occur. So in summary, GeoVax represents a compelling investment opportunity. We have differentiated products. We're addressing critically unmet medical needs. And I, again, appreciate your interest in GeoVax. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to Anna, who may have some questions to ask me.
Yes. Excuse me. Great job, David. We do have some questions for you. So how do you expect to compete against a market already dominated by major competitors such as Pfizer and Moderna?
Well, it's an excellent question. I tried to touch on that in the presentation, is that we recognize that it would be somewhat foolhardy to try and go up against such large powerhouse corporations as Pfizer and the strength of a company such as Moderna. However, where we are able to compete with them more than effectively is in the area of targeting specific, in this case, niche populations, which are those patients who are dealing with a compromised immune system, because it's well documented that the mRNA vaccines as well as the monoclonal antibody therapies are inadequate for these populations, and their technology does not allow them to be able to deliver a multi-antigen approach as we're able to address both the antibody and the cellular immune side. So we expect to focus to compete effectively by focusing and being the leader among providing the vaccine for people with compromised immune systems.
Thank you for that. When you're talking about Gedeptin, what are your next stage development plans for that drug?
Sure. So Gedeptin represents a very exciting opportunity because when you look at it, it's actually tumor agnostic. This technology is usable and valuable for addressing any tumor, whether cancerous or benign, quite frankly, and all. So the current plans are to complete, probably within the current month, more than likely, to complete our current activity in the initial portion of the phase 2 trial, because we announced and presented data in July at an international conference in Montreal that validated that the current approach that we have in our current trial is not only exquisitely safe, but also is consistently shrinking the tumors. So our plans are to review those data, obviously, meet with the FDA. We'll propose an expanded trial that we hope would be an expanded phase 2 trial or a phase 2/3 type trial that would be the basis for an expedited registration. And then we'll be looking at additional uses of the technology, not only in the current monotherapy in conjunction with other targeted tumors, but also in combination with very likely immune checkpoint inhibitors, where the current data that we're supporting, which is animal data or preclinical, is showing very consistent enhancement of the role of an immune checkpoint inhibitor such as Keytruda. So we think we can add value there and then be able to go to a much broader marketplace and also work with collaborations.
Well, thank you for that answer. Also, do you expect to partner and or collaborate in the development and commercialization of your portfolio?
Yes, we do. We initiated and kicked this off earlier this year. We're continuing. We've been at multiple meetings. We've been at the Biopartnering Europe meeting in March. We were at the Bio meeting in June. We were at the World Vaccine Congress. We'll be attending another biopartnering meeting in Munich soon. So we're quite active, both with Gedeptin as well as with CMO401, our next generation COVID-19, in discussions, because we expect in both cases to develop the product in conjunction with partners and collaborators for global distribution. We have worldwide rights exclusively for those technologies, and we expect to see them addressing those patient populations at such critical need around the world. And we will be doing that in conjunction with partnerships and collaborations.
And can you also elaborate on the status and registration outlook of the program for the GeoMVA, that product you have for monkeypox and smallpox?
Sure. So in that one, right now, there is one product that is authorized worldwide, and it cannot produce enough product. It's a small company in Europe. When we had the outbreak a year ago, there was inadequate ability to meet the demand and the need. There are still people dealing with this disease. There are outbreaks in China right now. They've had some in elsewhere in certain populations. So we know that there is a need for expanded supply, and we are very actively involved in regulatory discussions right now that will be supportive of an expedited registration pathway, because we have previously demonstrated in numerous situations that our products that are based on MVA not only will address their particular targeted indications, such as, for instance, COVID-19, or it could be an HIV, or it could be even in a hemorrhagic fever such as Ebola. But given that it's based on MVA, they also provide protective immunity against monkeypox. So certain parts of the world deal with not only a particular disease such as COVID-19, but it's endemic there because of monkeypox. So we have the unique proposition of offering a single product that has this inherent nature of preventing more than the targeted sort of primary indication you're going after. And we believe with the expanded manufacturing process that we validated and that we're aggressively implementing right now, that we'll be able to go forward in conjunction with an expedited pathway with regulatory authorities, and sooner rather than later be able to supply product to different parts of the world.
Wonderful. David, do you have any closing remarks for our viewers today?
No, I would just say GOVX is our NASDAQ symbol. I encourage you, if you're at any of the upcoming conferences, as well as the future ongoing emerging growth conference sessions, you'll pay attention to us, because we're going to make a lot of difference for people out there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us on the conference today, David.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, stay with us. We'll be back at 2:55 Eastern with Can Fight. We'll be back.